Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 4 of 5 Deep. The Deep First Impression, I do believe it's called. My name is Mark, and beside me here, or in front of us here, we have the clan. 5 Deep is a group of podcasters from around the globe who get together each week to achieve their goals through accountability. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start off with you, Rodney. How the dicky bow are you?
I think you asked me how I'm doing. I'm doing all right.
Yeah. It's just a sort of like strange way of me. I don't Dicky Bow, what's that all about? I don't freaking know. But are you keeping all right, my friend?
Yeah, I think I'm doing okay.
Lady Harmony, how about you? You're looking very, very gorgeous tonight. How the hell are you?
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm great. I've got all my work done now. All I have to do is go have fun in Florida. So I'm pumped. I'm happy.
Cool. Mr. Meekin, a.k.a. Lee, because that's the name that you was given. L-E-A. I've never seen Lee spell L-E-A before.
Yeah, I know. I always apologise for my fucked up name. But I'm doing good, man.
Good.
My little nips off.
And we've got Howard over there, who, can I say, looks absolutely amazing. He's had his ears lowered and he looks freaking gorgeous. Good evening, Howard.
Thank you for the compliment, I guess. So, yeah, good to be with you all.
What did the hairdresser say to you when she cut your hair, Howard? What was you telling us just a minute ago?
That I gave her 12 inches and she wished she could get more.
That is of hair we're talking about here now, by the way, isn't it?
Well, that's what I would want people to think so the wife doesn't find out.
Anyway, guys, can I just start this podcast off by saying, obviously, me, Lee, and Harmony wasn't here last week. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. The shit show that happened last week with me and with Lee and Harmony, she was just, I don't know what she was doing, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Howard and Rodney for doing an exceptional podcast, for keeping the crew going. And it was an amazing podcast. It was very relaxed, very chilled, very laid back.
Yeah, I think Howard deserved most of the credit for that. He didn't know I was going to be firing off questions, so and I didn't know. He just did his thing, and that's because he knows his why. He know what I'm saying, everything is lined up for him. So it probably was a little easier to do, but still we didn't know what we were going to do. So
It's not that easy doing a podcast where you're just chucked in at the deep end and you don't really know what you're going to talk about. And you've done a great job. I thoroughly enjoyed it until it got to the last 5 minutes where, I don't know if you listened to it, Lee, where they basically started insulting us English, our weather, the whole freaking everything was taking the mickey out of. And at that point, I had to turn it off.
Haters gonna hate.
Did you listen to it, Lee?
I've listened to half of it. I haven't got to the end of it, so now I'm really looking forward to getting to the end of it.
Get on there and check it out.
that was one of those deep fakes. I don't know. Howard and we didn't say any of that shit. I saw that. I don't even know where that came from.
It was a great episode, guys. It was a great episode, guys. If you get a chance to listen,
save yourself
and check it out. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about first impressions, and we're going to be, first of all, starting off. We're regrouping. We're back together. We're 5 deep. Last week was a bit of a shit show. Everything happened last week. For me, I had a new gas boiler fitted, and they ended up going through my electrics and blowing my electrics out of my house. So I had no electric for nearly 2 days. And then we had a storm that came in, didn't we, Lee? What was the name of the storm?
Well, I kept calling it Storm Algernon. I don't know what the official name was. Storm Agamemnon.
I don't know.
I forget.
Every time there's a new storm that comes in, they give it a new name. So it was E, then it's F, then the next one will be G. So it'll be probably like Storm Gary or something like that. But we had a storm and it wiped Storm Gangster, yeah. And it wiped my power out for nearly 3 days. I had a bereavement in the family, and then to top it all off, Monday evening, I came home and my car broke down and I had to call the RAC out. And as a result, he basically told me the reason why my car wouldn't start is because I had no petrol in it. So it was just that was what my week was like. But you wasn't able to attend, Lee. Why was you not here?
I wasn't far away from you. I was working at the time in Pembroke, which was not as severely hit as predicted by this storm, but enough to cause enough Wi-Fi disruption for me to just abandon ship and say, look, I'd rather not do it at all if I'm going to be there and it's going to be shit. So I bowed out.
Fair play. And what about you? What about you, Harmony? What was your excuse? What why didn't you do your homework?
I had to work. I'm getting ready to go away for 8 days, so I had to hustle and make sure all my clients were happy. So I have a good excuse.
Cool. Well, the Thundercats are back in their lair. Thundercats, ho! Yeah. So how are we all doing with February's goals then? Because, we set ourselves a goal for February. We'll quickly skip around the group and start off with that. Rodney, how's your goal going for February?
Not too good. Everything except for last week I felt like a little off. I couldn't figure out why, but I didn't balance. There was no balance for me last week. I was like work and family work. And then when I look back, I was like, oh, you know what? I didn't take time off for myself. Couldn't. I didn't know why. I just felt off. But then when I went back and looked, and I was like, you know what? I didn't take time and take some time to myself to be quiet. And my working out, I didn't hit my workouts like I wanted to do. So I was just so off balance last week. So I'm looking to get back on balance.
Sweet. Harmony, how's your goals going?
Really good. I'm actually in such a flow that I'm kind of it's a bittersweet situation that I'm going away, because when you find that momentum to go on vacation, not once but twice. I did the little mini vacation in Nashville, and now I'm going to be gone for about 8 days to Florida. So my momentum is so good right now. I'm just going to think positive that I'm going to come back and be able to get right back on it again.
How far is your vacation away? Whereabouts are you going?
Flying into Fort Lauderdale tomorrow, and then one night in Miami, and then driving down to Key West, and we'll be down in Key West for a week.
I've got a treat for you. It
What's
is Joe Rogan with Joey Diaz. I think it was the 7th of February. Have you listened to that episode yet?
I'm excited. I haven't listened. I've been kind of holding on to that one because Uncle Joey's my guy. I love him.
Literally 30 seconds into the podcast, Joey just lets a massive fart out, and that's the way it continues to go on. It was a great episode. Really did enjoy it.
I love him. I love him a bunch.
Lee, how's your goals going, man?
Oh, mate, fucking awesome. Really, really good. I've not kept on top of my calories as much as I did last week, this week, but I'm still half a stone down, so I'm fucking pumped about that. And an unintentional result of my efforts is paying off. I've had 2 coaching calls and 6 discovery calls in the last 2 weeks, and I am on fucking fire. I was almost worried. Shit, how am I going to cope with this? And I was getting a bit panicky and a bit worried. But my God, every time I have a conversation with somebody, it just reinforces, like, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm great at.
I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
It's great, isn't it, when things start going right, you just feel like you're on top of the world, and you just feel like you can achieve anything, don't you?
But what I will say is you have to pay attention to the upper limit problem creeping in.
Yeah.
That can sabotage you.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of that. And the moment things start feeling a bit rocky, I'm going to be like, that's the upper limit problem. Don't fall into the trap.
That's that inner asshole that likes to live in our brain uninvited on our brain couch that we've got up there, just chills, plays video games, eats pizza, makes a mess, and tells us that we're going to fuck everything up we try to do.
So easy to listen to the little fucker as well, isn't it? How about you, Howard? How's your week going? How's your goals going?
Well, the week is going well. It's very cold. I mean, the city's basically shut down here because there's like a little tiny bit of ice, but it just shuts everything down. But goals are going well. I finished going over like the last ingredient, kind of doing the research on it, and I've reached out now to 7 manufacturers. Tomorrow I'm going to start actually calling them. So I just email them first to try to set up, get the conversation started, and then reach out to them by phone, say, hey, I've sent you this email. Let's start talking to see what we can do. I do have Rodney, I know you said you were having problems, like you just couldn't get into the flow.
Here we go,
You
people.
know, if you do take some more Howard's Blend, well, it's got the blur going here, some Howard's Blend plant-based protein powder with 20 grams of plant-based protein per serving, it might help you
Two
get
for
back
four.
into the flow. I know you were drinking some earlier, but you need to up the dose, my friend, up the dose.
You know what?
Not fucking OxyContin, Howard, for Christ's sake.
I'll tell you, what is this stuff anyway, Howard? Because I've not heard of it before. Is it some sort of stuff that you snort, or what do you do with it?
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man. You want to snort it? I don't recommend it. Just for legal reasons, I can't recommend that you snort it. But hey, whatever.
Fantastic. Well, I'm doing not too bad, to be honest with you. My goal for February was to carry on losing some weight. I started off last month at 16 stone 7. I'm now down to 15 stone 6. I did drop down to 15 stone 3, but I went away at the weekend and just let my hair down a little bit. Not as much as what Howard did. I have kept it on my head. But I did put a few pounds on this week, but no problem. Get back out and get on it this week. So I want to try and get down to 15 stone by the end of February. So I don't know how long we've got left, but it's still enough time. But great effort, guys. It's like I say, we'll come in at the end of February and we'll talk about our goals and how well we've done that lot at the end of February. But all on track. Well done. What I wanted to talk about this week with you guys is first impressions, because this is a new podcast. It is important that we start off with a good impression. But, we all talk about these first impressions, but how important is it as a brand, as a person, as whatever you do to show that first impression? And we'll start with you, Howard.
Well, as a brand, I look at it, I say it is important, but then it's not like the end of your business, I guess. Especially me, I'm just starting out. I have my whys, but I know as I grow that my reasons and my whys, they can change. Just as I've been told in other podcasts, we'll always reevaluate your whys. So somebody may look at my brand now and say, oh, well, I don't know who this person is. I'm not going to take his product. But 5 years from now, whatever, they may say, oh yeah, he's there. He's making the top product in the industry. I want to use it. So I think I'll just leave it at that. That's what I think. So it is important, but I'll just leave it at that.
I wanted to start off with you there, Howard, because I listened to the last episode and you and Rodney was talking about your packaging and your branding and stuff. And you said that, you started off with, you got your logo done through Fiverr, and you basically used the artwork, which is what the company provided, wasn't it? There was some sort of template that you used it. And I thought I'd ask you first because, I just want because is it important that you start off with a fresh brand that's uniquely to you, or is it more important that you just get out there and get started? And I thought that you was the best person to ask to start off with, to be honest with you.
Well, since you brought it up, that's kind of what I didn't want to get too far into the weeds, but that's what I wanted to go with. Is that to me, I think it's more important just to get started, and then because I fall into the trap before where I have to know everything before I can get started. And there's no way you're going to know everything. You're going to have to make the mistakes and then learn from the mistakes and correct. So to me, I think it was just more important just to get started. That's why I was like, hey, let's just go with the template that the manufacturer made for the background. But whatever, let's try to get out as quickly as possible, and then I can make changes over time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's talking about like as a brand, but as a person then, Harmony, I mean, you're a young lady, and how important is it that when you go out on a date or you meet somebody for the first time that you look your best? Is it, should you be showing up looking your best or just being you, or, how important is first impressions going out, meeting people, whether it be on a date or with business work, or just first impressions for anything like?
Well, I think overall you go out looking your best if you're being yourself, because you're going to authentically show up as yourself. So it really just is about not being in your head about what somebody's going to think, because you can't please everybody. You go out being what you think is your best. You show up and you make yourself proud, whether that's in business, on a date, whatever, and let the chips fall where they may.
Mm.
That's what my 46-year-old version of that answer is. If I would have told you 21, it would have been a whole different answer. If I was 21, it would have been a whole different answer.
I'm just interested to find that from a female's point of view, because I mean, I don't know about the guys that's in the room, but how many times have you dolled yourself up? You've gone out clean shaven, you've gone out with a nice shirt and tie or trousers on or jeans, and you've gone out on the pull one night and you've not had any luck whatsoever. But that night you come back from work, you're looking like a scruff or looking a bit, a bit like I don't know, whatever. And you go out on the town and you pull every time, and is that because is it because you're being yourself? You're not
putting on airs. You're not hyper in your thought. It's kind of like, a watch pot never boils, that saying. If you're hyper focused on looking at something under a microscope, like, am I good enough? Am I funny enough? Am I skinny enough? Am I sharp enough? Am I whatever? It's generally not going to pan out the way you expect. But if you just go out being yourself, honestly, like, think about it. Think about the times you've succeeded in something in your life and how many times that was when you planned for that. And how many times was that when just your energy was just authentically you and you stumbled into something? Do you know what I mean? Whether that's the way you show up online or how you record a podcast one night, it always seems to pan out better when you're being true to who you are. And however that relates to your appearance or your personality or whatever, I just feel like everything works out better when you're being authentically yourself. You light up differently.
But what about, somebody like yourself there, Rodney, who is dealing, you're into real estate. You want to go and see your bank manager. So you show up to your bank manager for the first time. Now, what's the best way? Is it showing up being yourself, or showing up as somebody that looks successful with all notes in front of them that knows their shit? How important is it turning up and being prepared? And do you see where I'm coming from?
Before you answer, Rodney, I just want to say, why does it have to be either or? I think that thought process is very antiquated, and that he can go in looking sharp and go in, he doesn't have to wear a three-piece suit, but he can go in looking sharp, wearing something that's comfortably casual and clean cut to him, and he'll feel more comfortable, which means he's going to show up and deliver differently, whatever he's got to communicate to the bank manager. So it doesn't have to be either or. He doesn't have to go in as himself or clean cut, as himself or clean shaven or whatever. Like, why can't we have both? And I think that that's what our society's trying to merge together now, is just those antiquated ways of thinking. I think thankfully they're finally going away. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rodney, but I had to say that, like, sometimes we can do both. We should do both.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, you had talked to Howard about the branding and how, basically the company had like a template, and there used to be there is a template for like job interviews and stuff like that. They want you to wear a suit and blah, blah, blah. You dress the part per se. But as far as like, if I'm going to the bank and I'm looking for an investor, or wherever I'm going looking for an investor, I know that they really only care about one thing. Can I fund the deal? I can wear the nicest suit. I can shave my face clean shaven, which I would never do, by the way. And then show up, and then they look at my financials and they're going to laugh me out of the building. So if you see me, anybody that knows me, I'm in t-shirts, whether it be brand or graphic t-shirts, basketball shorts, slides, sweatpants, hoodie. That's just the way I dress. If I was going for a job interview, then obviously, I probably would look up some kind of generic, video on what to wear or something like that. Put on a shirt and tie and walk in, because I'm selling myself as an individual. But in my mind, and I think all of us probably are of this belief, those things don't matter. It doesn't mean that you could do the job, or it doesn't mean you could provide the service by what you're wearing. I've gotten away from looking at people, the book by its cover thing. I've gotten away from that after, just being around a lot of people and having my own issues and stuff. And I realized, like, you may meet somebody on the worst day of their life and you don't know. So just to look at them and go, look at Mark, you have no idea. So thing is to have the conversation with the person. And I think first impressions are important, but if it's just a first impression, a snapshot, that's one thing. But if it's a nuanced conversation or something like that, then you have an opportunity to change their first impression. Like, oh man, I didn't think he didn't look like he was. But now that I'm having a conversation with him, all right, okay, I get it. So
right. That's interesting because, I mean, we'll go to you now, Lee, because Lee's in the process of getting a loft conversion done. And how would you feel, Lee, if on Monday the guy that's going to do your loft turned up in a shabby old crappy out van, right, dressed like a tramp with a little notebook in his hand and a little saw, and says, right, I'm ready to do the job, and alongside him he's got 4 or 5 guys that just look like they've just been pulled up off of a gypsy site, no disrespect gypsies, but how would you feel about that first impressions and that walked into your house?
It's a really good question, because I've got a very good carpenter friend who does an incredible job, and he is exactly like that. His trousers are a mess, his face is a mess, his hair's long, his van's rusty and beaten up. But I'm not interested in that. Can you do the job? What is your history look like? So, touching on sort of what Rodney says. What's your financials? If your financials are good, yeah, you're good for it. So I've seen his work. I know what he's capable of. I don't care what you look like. Can you do the job?
Mm.
So first impressions, to me, I think where the culture is changing around first impressions. There's less of this worried about going to job interviews, because I think employees and employers are realizing that actually their values are the wrong way round. Employers are starting to realize, oh shit, you don't need to turn up in a suit and tie. You can wear a hoodie and jeans. It doesn't, you can still perform the job at the same way. And I think employees are reclaiming that power that, to be frank, we should never have lost in the first place. An employee is such a powerful entity of a company. And I just think that the culture is changing completely. I just to touch on a coaching call I had the other day. I was talking to a lady, and I had her in tears, and she said that she'd had a couple of coaching calls previously, a few years back, and she said, "You are really different." And I'm like, well, why did you say that? She was like, "You're unconventional. You swear. You're not the same as everybody else." And I think that is really, really appealing. So my head started to swell, but that's just me. I tell people as it is, if the time's right and if they can take it. And I'm just me. And if you don't like it, well, as far as I'm concerned, that's your loss, because I know my worth.
So are we saying then that gone are the days where, I mean, my dad used to say to me, whenever you go to a job interview, you need to look the part, but the first thing people look at is your shoes. Make sure you've got a nice shiny pair of shoes, because that's the first thing he said. Are we saying then that, in 2022, that isn't the case now, that they'll give you more chance, and they want to dig deep into you and find out what qualifications you've got, rather than put a cross in the box just because you got a dirty pair of shoes?
Yeah, I think everybody's probably worried that you're secretly filming a TikTok and their whole business is going to go under because you judged them about their shoes.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. You got to be accountable. And I do really believe, I agree with Lee. I think it's changing a lot. I think that the way things were done is slowly but surely changing for the better in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they're coming along kicking and screaming though. They still think that it's ingrained in us. Like, for instance, if you were in church and somebody was like a preacher, or somebody was talking, like speaking in tongues or something like that, that would be normal, right? But if you saw a person at the bus stop walking, doing those same things, speaking in tongue, you look at them different. This person is homeless. This person is crazy, as opposed to in church, that person is, communicating with God. So it depends on the situation, where you're at. You're going to be in an office setting where they require, short hair, clean shoes, some khakis or whatever the case is. Then yeah, you obviously going to look the part. They're not going to, if that is the overwhelming look and that's the overwhelming value system that they have, they're not going to change that for you per se. But now with like things like STEM and engineering and things like that, people actually get to, the look of those guys is that description you said, kind of ratty clothes, kind of, hoodies, scruffy. Can you code? You know what I'm saying? If you're into cybersecurity, can you protect my company? A lot of those guys are getting contracts over the internet, so you don't even see you working from home. People don't even see you. So it depends on, it's about knowing the room, knowing your audience. Then you can kind of decide. But slowly but surely, it seems like people are coming along.
Oh, what's a really good example of that? Tattoos and piercings and
Yes.
hair color. Like I've been getting tattooed since I was 18, and you guys know me well enough to know I just kind of did it. I didn't ever have a concern about what somebody was going to think of me if I had a nose ring. I still created a business and had clients, and it's been interesting to see how over time, now that a lot of celebrities and top movie actors and sports professionals and chefs and people in the public eye, everybody's tattooed now. And it's just become more mainstream to the point that there's an awareness around the fact that you can have a mohawk and a bunch of tattoos and a bunch of piercings and be an amazing human being. And I think that that's probably helping with other things too, because appearance is bullshit. I felt it when I went into Harrods and I walked over to, it was probably an $800 pair of sunglasses. And I wasn't dressed slobby or anything, but me and my mom had been out walking all day in London. And I definitely looked like I couldn't afford a pair of $800 glasses, whatever that means. But the eyes were all on me. Like as soon as I went to go reach for them, put them on and try them on, the security guard came over and was like, nope. So I've definitely felt it before, but I think that because people are, what's the best way I can put this, finding more courage for whatever reason to let their freak flag fly, I think that we're starting to subconsciously have a realization that what you're wearing does not directly equate to who you are as a person. What your hair looks like and how many tattoos you have or whatever doesn't directly equate, or car you drive, it doesn't equate to who you are and your substance. So for that, I'm grateful, because I probably did lose some clients in the beginning, 15 years ago when I was starting, and I'd go to people's homes to do a walkthrough and quote them a price. And here I come walking in with rainbow colored hair and tattoos. I'm pretty sure I lost. I don't know if I did, but it wouldn't surprise me if I did all that time ago, and I think that now we don't have to worry about that. I don't care what somebody's wearing. What's your energy? Are you polite to me? Do you shake my hand? Do you give me eye contact when we're speaking? That's what I look for. You guys probably agree. Like, what's your energy like,
Howard Stern, not Howard Stern, Howard Blend, aka Cheryl Schneer, not Cheryl Schneer, but Schnarf. You got your hand up there. You got your hand up. What's on, man? What have you got to say?
Well, Rodney and Harmony brought up an interesting point there, is that the first impressions, I think, especially like with an employer, whether you're own your own business like Harmony or if you're an employee, it depends also if you're facing a customer or not as well. Like Harmony, she just said, like she probably lost some clients because of piercings or tattoos, whereas if she had that and she was going to be a software engineer, I think was what Rodney was talking about, then the employer might, I don't care. You're not going to see the customer. Can you do this code? Can you do that? Can you do the job or not? So I think it's important whether they're facing the customer or not, but I do think society is changing. It may not be fast or slow. I don't know what the speed of it is, but I think more and more people are just concerned, can you do the job? What experience do you have, and how are you as a person? Do you fit I guess what Rodney brought up, do you fit the company the company culture, whatever it is. And depending on the company culture, depending on whether you have to conform to everybody wearing like the shorts and the crew cut haircut, like they did at I think it was Perot Systems, Ross Perot's company. They wouldn't let you have a beard, and you had to have like short cut hair or whatever the thing was. Or if it's maybe one of these like tech companies where it's like anybody wear what you, as long as you're not going naked or something like that. But
that'll be next.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there, Howard. I mean, the thing is, I mean, I've been to job interviews in the past and I have been, you know, not qualified for the job, but I've gone there. I've looked reasonably smart. I've not had the qualification there to show them, but I've been there and I've shown the right attitude. I've told them everything they want to hear, even though, you know, I can't guarantee that I can give it to them, but I've gone there and I've made an effort and I've told them what they want to hear. And, you know, a lot of the time they want to be teaching you their own system anyway. You know, there's no point in going to an interview with all of these qualifications for them to say, well, we're going to have to retrain you anyway, you know. So sometimes it's good to just go to the interview and be yourself and tell a few white lies, perhaps. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but just go and be yourself and just, you know, just have a good display. Howard.
You brought up an interesting point there, that your mindset. I've been to job offers where, you know, I do IT, so they'll give you like, okay, solve this problem, or do this and do that. And there are times where I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, and what I would do is I would say, okay, can you give me a clue? And when I asked for the answer, give me a clue. And they would offer me the job because they could see the way I was thinking it out. Like, okay, I see what he's trying to do here, and what you just said, that I'm malleable in a way. I didn't have a lot of experience, and that benefited me early on because, like, well, you don't have a lot of experience. There's no bad habits to break. We can mold you how we want to mold you. So I just wanted to reinforce your point there. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when I was doing radio broadcasting, another thing as well is just showing how eager and determined you are. So going there saying, look, I'll do the job for the first week free. You don't have to pay me. I will go and make cups of tea. I will just do whatever needs to do to get inside the door, you know. And you don't get paid for that first week, but it's the future, looking down the line, making that first impressions that way, you know. And sometimes that is more important than any qualification in the world. Showing up, being eager, enthusiastic, and just showing that person, the boss, the employer, that, you know, you want that job and you would do anything you can to get it.
Yeah.
You know what oh, sorry, go ahead, Rodney.
I was going to say, I'll take the effort and the attitude over somebody that knows it all. I feel like somebody that's willing to, you know, learn under the system and give you a good solid effort. I find as I'm in a supervisory role. I love those guys that come in and it's like, all right, show me what you need me to do, and go, as opposed to, well, at my last job, why are you guys doing this, and why? Just come in. We can get to that stuff later, but if you come in coachable, I guess we would call that coachable. Come in coachable, then you can work it out.
We'll go to Harmony, then we'll go to Lee, and then we'll move on. But did you have something to say there, Harmony?
I just wanted to say, since we're all podcasters, it'd be interesting to know after Lee talks how that first impression thing would apply to us as podcasters.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't dare go back and listen to my first 100 episodes.
Well, that's where I was going to come to next. But Lee, have you got something to say there, mate?
No, carry on. We'll move on. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is that's us as an individual. We've talked about being an individual, going for a job interview, making the first impression. But I kind of feel it's a bit different when you are somebody that's a content creator, whether it be a YouTuber, whether it be a podcaster, because you have to get that attention. When somebody looks at your cover art, they're not going to bother reading through your bio if it looks a bag of shit. So how important is it, and we'll start with Harmony, how important is it to have sexy looking cover art or a nice intro as a podcaster?
I think it's very important. I definitely do. You don't have to have all your ducks in a row because you're learning. So as I said, when I first started podcasting, I didn't know what sound quality was. I didn't know what a mixing desk was. I don't know that if I heard the word cover art, I would have put two and two together, but I didn't think about any of that stuff. But I also had to go through the process of teaching myself. I didn't have the money to hire somebody to come in and hire a person from Fiverr to create this and create that. I didn't even know what any of that was, actually. I just kind of started. I did what Howard did. I just started. I just wanted to start. But I do think as you become more aware of that over time, you want to have that, you want to be aesthetically pleasing, whether that's your Instagram, your website, the audio sound when somebody logs onto your podcast. You do want it to be welcoming to the ears and to the eyes.
Mm. And I think it's very important that when you do start out, that you make it very, very clear from the start that you are starting out, so that you can say to your listener, look, we're 4 episodes in, we've done some temporary album art, we haven't got a proper a musical intro at the moment, we're starting out, so please bear with us, give us some time, shit will follow soon, because if you're honest with your listener from the start, they'll appreciate that and they'll understand that. But it's so, what I've learned as a podcaster is it's so important for you to be transparent and for people to come on and for you to be yourself, because people can hear that you're talking shit right from the start. And that to me is the most off-putting thing, is to turn a podcast on and for somebody straight away to pretend to be Joe Rogan. So, and you can see straight away they're not like that. They're not like that at all. But they've got this false image coming across. How off-putting is that for you then, Lee, when you listen to a podcast and you can clearly see that this guy knows what he's talking about, he makes sense, but he's just a cockwomble?
Well, I would ask you if you've ever heard of the conversation junkie. I think there's 2 categories that you have to focus on. As long as you get one of them right, you're okay. I think you need to focus on the proposal and the delivery. So whether it's a podcast, what's the proposal? Well, it's the cover art and it's the description. If it's a website, it's like how many said, how does it look? That's the proposal. You're proposing somebody, hey, come look at this. And then the delivery. So, if your cover art's amazing on your podcast, but like you say, you're talking bullshit, straight away, you lose. So as long as you're getting one of them right, but again, you have to be transparent. Your podcast art is great, but your audio is a bit crap. People are like, well, it's just started. There's 2 episodes. Like, let's give it time. And vice versa. If your podcast cover art or your coaching bio on your Instagram is like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But then you actually get into a coaching session and go, Jesus, that guy knows his shit. You need to fix that though, but you know your stuff. As long as you get the proposal or the delivery okay, I think you're onto a winner. And everything you'll learn from there, like we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
And Rodney, you're a guy that's spent a lot of money getting a Rodecaster Pro and some new microphones and some stuff. You're building your new YouTube channel. How important did you find it to have the right equipment for the job?
You definitely, you can have the best cover art. You can have, but if your sound quality is terrible, or if you're not, if you're doing like clickbait titles, like things like that, what I'm saying, it's not going to work out for you in the long run. People will know you for that, and unless that's what you're going to be doing, and that's But I think it's important to have good quality sound, and then you also since YouTube is very camera friendly as far as the content, people want to see they want to see you on people want to see you on video. They want to see the person behind the voice. So I think it's definitely important. And and you were talking about sexy cover art. All you guys can I'm about to pose so you guys can take a screenshot if you want some sexy cover art. Okay.
How important is it to you then, Howard? I mean, I don't know how many podcasts you listen to, but what is the most off-putting thing as a podcaster What is the most off-putting thing when you listen to a podcast that straight away throws you off and you think, no, I can't listen to this shit?
Man, I can't think of any. Well, I guess trying to think of it, I guess it would be where maybe the cover art conveys like what the show is, but the show is actually different. Not what I expected. But to me, I mean, unless like what you brought up, unless the show's been on for many, many, many years or something like that, the bad audio quality, I can forgive that. Because I mean, I guess I'm looking at it as a podcaster, like, oh, this is episode number 4, official 5 deep or 5 deep. You know, oh, okay, you know, I can forgive him. It's just the beginning. But I may be biased because I'm looking at it as a podcaster, whereas, you know, putting on the hat of somebody who doesn't actually record and do this, then I don't, you know, maybe I wouldn't be as forgiving for that. But you know, I guess my thing is I really didn't understand when he said that somebody conveys themselves as Joe Rogan. I guess maybe I haven't heard any of those before. I don't really know what you meant by that. Is it like they were like cocky or something like that? Or
I was going to say douchey, but yeah, you just get it. They have an air about them. Just you get on and they're just too much. They're just too much.
Yeah.
Like, did they sound like this? Like, hello, welcome to this. I don't know.
Well,
Is that a douchey voice?
There's always somebody out there that you can, you know, you listen to a podcast or you turn your YouTube on and you can see that the way they're acting is not them. You can see straight away that it's a false image that they're putting across. You know, that they're trying to be Joe Rogan, even though they may be a little scrawny, you know. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, but you know where I'm coming from is that, you know, there's always somebody trying to be something that they're not. And I think that is so off-putting. But I am interested in what you were saying there, Howard, about you can forgive them for bad audio quality. Because for me, I mean, I'm an audio geek. I like to sound as best as I possibly can. But there's nothing worse in the world when I'm out on my post round and I've got my earbuds in and I'm listening to a podcast and I'll hear dogs barking in the background, or, you know, a rustling noise, or the wife putting plates in the background.
I was about to give that example.
But that to me is, there's no excuse for that. If you're a podcaster, you need to make an effort to sound good. If you're a YouTuber, you know, you don't want to be one of those people that they're recording it and all the time it's moving from vertical to horizontal, or, you know, it's all over the shop. You've got to make a bit of an effort. And I understand if the quality's there, then people say, oh, well, I'll forgive that. For me, I can't. I cannot listen to a podcast if it sounds shit.
I think it depends on if the sounds are part of the personality of your podcast. If that is, you know, like if I'm doing a, you know, my podcast has to do with nature, and I'm out and about, you know, I think you want to hear those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Now the pots and the pans and stuff like that, that depends on the situation as well. Like if you can incorporate it, if you're fast on the fly and you can incorporate it into the actual, you know, podcast and make it part of that personality for that episode or whatever, then I think you can get away with it. But like, I think the more important for me is actually hearing what the person is saying and hearing that clearly, and, you know, not sounding like their mouth is on top of the microphone, and, you know, the levels, you know, when somebody laughs out loud, sometimes, you know, the levels will go up higher or to pierce into your ears, depending on, so stuff like that when it comes to sound quality. But I'm still learning though. So I'm at the very beginning stages of even processing what some of this stuff is supposed to do. You know, you've guided me, you and Lee have guided me through this usage of this Rodecaster Pro. We sat there and went over settings, went into the display, we went into everything. So I'm still learning, and I listen back and I think I'm more critical of myself than I am of other people. I think I'm more forgiving of other people's like shitty sound than I am of myself though.
Harmony?
I was just going to say that a good example is Vocal Fry. There's a podcast topic, you know, I love true crime, and there's a podcast about the Murdaugh murders that were down in the Low Country in the South Carolina, and the story is crazy. and fascinating, and her content was amazing. Her research was amazing, but her vocal fry, I couldn't listen to it. I had to turn it off. I made it through about one episode, and I just felt myself wanting to go back and listen to it, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because she was intentionally altering her voice, and you could tell.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. It's like I can't listen to this podcast anymore.
Well, I mean, I look at it like. Go on, Lee. Sorry.
That's that air of disingenuine personality. Disingenuous? Yeah, that's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
It's that personality that Mark was talking about. You know, the Joe Rogan wannabe. You know, when you've got some guy that's coming on being falsely bullshit, and then advertising his friend's company and saying, this podcast is what, and today we're talking to this blah blah blah, and they start asking questions, and you just think, dude, just simmer down a little bit. You're not quite to that level, right? I can see straight through this bullshit. If you just cut yourself some slack on that, your cover art's great, but you're not. The proposal's good, the delivery's not so great. So I'm going to give you some time, but if you don't take the opportunity to learn, like Rodney said, the audio's got to be great. I can put up with a podcast for, let's say, 10 episodes, but as long as there's an incremental improvement in what they're doing, that there's a journey and there's a progress, and you're more inclined to just roll with it, as Liam says.
But I mean, how about then, like music, right? How about if the Beatles didn't record their album at Abbey Road, if it was recorded in the front room and you could hear loads of background noise and it was hissy and it sounded crap, or you go to a concert, you're at a festival and all you can hear is feedback and you can't hear what they're singing. They may be the best artists in the world, but if the audio's not good, you're going to say this is shit and just walk off. And I know people will say, well, that's music and you're talking about a podcast. But for me, it's the same thing. You go on Spotify to listen to a podcast. You go on Spotify to listen to music. And if the recording sounds shit, right, it's so off-putting.
Yeah.
And if you compare, sorry, I'll just make this really quick. If you compare Eminem's first album to one of his most recent albums, the quality of the audio is not great in comparison, but it comes with that progress, that development. I think you need to cut people some slack. If you release a podcast and you're doing it, on your mobile phone, just like this, and then next week you save up a bit of money and you get a better microphone or whatever. Like, I think we need to just be a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more, accommodating to people's journeys. And I think it's coming. And it's that whole culture we spoke about at the beginning of the podcast. The culture is shifting.
Mark is not the sound guy is not. He's not feeling you. Mark is like, nah.
I am, because I mean I've told people in the past, just get started. Doesn't matter what you record it on, whether it be a phone, whatever. Just get started, because at the end of the day, is providing the information and the quality is there, it will always shine through. But I'm just an audio snob, and I put my hands up. I want to try and sound as best as I possibly can. But I do agree with what Lee's saying. As long as you can see a progression, that's fair enough. But Howard.
First of all, your reference to the Beatles, I think the Beatles are crap, so I'll just skip that. Second of all,
you shut up. Last week you was insulting our food. You insulted our weather. Now you're saying the Beatles are crap. I can't stand the Beatles. 20 seconds.
Oh my God, you're fired. I did just change the way I feel about you. Just a few points.
I just don't understand all the big hullabaloo. I use that word about them.
I'm gonna shit in your bag of protein. That's what I'm gonna do if you carry on like that.
Well, that they improve the taste. Wait, I just said it. I guess Mark, with your, go back and think before you got into before you became the audiophile. Like I think you're looking at it. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're not saying you're wrong at all. You're looking at it in terms like what you said as an audio, a fan of the audio. So you're like, well, why? I don't understand why they didn't do this, and this, for example. But, this is what I was talking about, where I try to your question, I was trying to think of it as like, okay, what if I was a listener and not a podcaster? And so I think what Lee, to go to what Lee said, I agree with him that, as long as I see a progression and I see somebody who's making the effort to try to improve, then I'm cool with it. But I understand, Mark, that you're better than everybody else and that you're the Lord of audio.
Bend down and kiss my ring.
His podcast
I don't
sounds better
understand the
than
Beatles.
Gwyneth Paltrow's. So I
Yeah.
take that to the bank. Her podcast audio sounds like shit. And she's got to be, one of the biggest celebrities, and she's got to have the money to have audio. And she always wears all her bangles so you can hear them ching-changing in the background. It just blows my mind a little bit.
But then to contradict what I'm saying, look at the following that she's got. Look at the following.
I still listen.
Yeah.
She can hear shits. She can. You're gonna hear my bracelets clanging, and you're gonna tune in.
And she sells vagina candles. She can kind of do whatever she wants.
What? Hold on a minute. She sells what?
Vagina candles.
What the frickin' hell is a vagina candle?
It's just a candle she's produced that is supposed to be in honor of the essence of a vagina.
Are they dual purpose?
Wait.
It could be. How hot's the wax?
How do they get the?
So you light it on fire?
Yeah, it's a candle. That's generally what you do with a candle.
I'm just.
Is it like? How do they capture the essence?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you should order one. That's probably her scheme.
And how many people do they smell before they discover what the odor is? If you know what I mean.
Maybe it's her vagina.
Oh, right.
I'd be like, why does this smell like Grimsby Docks?
Exactly. That was the first thing that came to my mind. But integrity and values. That's something I think that is very, very important when you start out anything. How important do you think it is, Lee, to have your values, to have wrote your values down and to work, in integrity when you start out something?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question from a coaching point of view, and I don't think my values have changed very much, but they are getting more and more reinforced. They're becoming stronger and stronger and stronger every time I speak to somebody. So speaking as a coach, I think they are just super, super important, because it's what's making me a great coach. And I don't want to come off as arrogant or anything like that. But, I think when you can feel it, when you're being disingenuous, when you're trying to perform to a certain audience and it just doesn't feel right. And then you're not only lying to your clients, you're lying to yourself, and it just does not sit right. But after every call, I get off and I'm like, fuck, man, I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And that whole conversation, that hour I've just spent with that person, my values are the be all and end all of that conversation. So for me, they're super, super important.
Howard?
Yeah, I had a whole, I think I only released 2 of them, but I did a whole series of Instagram lives talking about the values that apply to me personally and that I want to apply to the business. And that's my part of the purpose, is to conduct myself and then my business practice as following those values. So I think it's vitally important.
Harmony.
I was just going to say, I think you said it, Lee, and I've heard it somewhere before, but integrity is basically what we're doing when nobody's looking, right? And if you start paying close enough attention and you tell yourself you're going to do something, right? There's an immediate either reward or demerit, I'd like to say, personally, for that. So if you say you're going to go exercise tomorrow and you don't show up, you immediately feel the shame and guilt associated with that. Yeah. And if you do show up, you feel the pride that goes along with that. So it really is just incorporating that one simple rule and realizing I'm in the driver's seat. How I feel 5 minutes from now or 5 days from now is all depending on how I show up for myself. And I was going to ask you, Lee, in just the time that you've had these uptick of calls and coaching connections with these people, I bet you've noticed just organically that you have started showing up differently in your own life, right? It's magical.
100%.
It's magical. I just love it so much.
And what people have got
Because
to
like you say, it revalidates what you're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment you say to somebody, you know, oh, I have a cold shower and, you know, I get up at 5 and I do this and I do that. And they go, really? Oh my God. And then you're just like, oh my God, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. And it's just that snowball effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you ever wondered how I show up showing all the things on Instagram, whether it's making a salad, running in the woods, doing whatever it is I'm doing, the people that are in my community, they make me better in that way because they're a layer of accountability for me, because I know that they're getting inspiration. I don't mean that arrogantly at all. I just mean they're getting inspiration, and them showing up might hinge one day out of next month on whether or not I posted my running video. So it really just becomes you kind of realize the magic of humans supporting humans, and you understand the magic of the fact that we're all connected and how we are a monkey see, monkey do society. And if we see somebody doing something and they're reaping the benefit of that, then we get excited and we want to do it too, because we want to feel good too. And then it just becomes this beautiful, magical ball of awesomeness, because Lee started showing up, started sending his message. He wanted better for himself as well. And so now that he's getting reinforced by these people that have found him, then he's feeling that fire under his ass too. And it's just, it's magical. I mean, it's very motivating, and it creates a really, awesome community. Whether you got like us, look at our community. We're 6 of us that have really made some big changes in our lives. Or 5 of us, sorry. We were 6. We miss you, Michael.
Yeah.
That we've been in each other's lives for a very long time now. And I really believe that I would have shown up differently. And you'll probably hear me say this again. I would have shown up differently in my life if you guys were not watching me, period.
And I mean, we've done an exercise just after Christmas, didn't we? Where we talked about our integrity and our values and stuff. And I think that is something that is really, really important when you start something up, whether it be a brand or whatever it is to know your values. Because like we was just saying there just a minute ago, that 2022, everywhere you go, people have got that mobile phone with a camera on. And if you are a celebrity or somebody that's out there in the media or whatever you're doing, and you say that you are this sort of person, and you are out on the street and somebody sees you as a different type of person, they'll film that, and it's on social media. And you see so many celebrities that are, you know, I don't know, a vegetarian, and then there'll be a picture of them troughing their face with KFC or something like that. You know, that can ruin a person, ruin a brand. And it's so important that you keep your integrity and your values. I think that's the most important thing when you start stuff up, is working that shit out. Rodney,
treat the CEO as you would or treat the Jenner as you would the CEO. You know, don't.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah,
big time. Yeah, no, I agree everything you guys said. I have to cut it short. I got to get out of here, so I want to say peace to everybody. And
it's good seeing you.
If you wanted to know why I have to go, I've been inspired by Gwyneth Paltrow. I am going to now get started on my penis-scented candles.
I was going to say tank, but okay, go ahead and go for it.
I want to, and I got to work on it right away. I'm feeling super inspired right now.
Well, stay safe, stay classy, Rodney. We'll see you on next week's episode.
Bye,
let us
bye,
know
Rodney.
how you make that candle, buddy. I don't want to know.
Cheers, pal. Oh, that's got me thinking now.
I think it made me blush.
Yes. Well, I mean, did anybody see that thing that was on? I saw it on the internet the other day about, at the moment, it's the Winter Olympics, and there was somebody that's in the Winter Olympics that got frostbite on their penis. Did anybody hear about that? It was a skier that was out. I don't know what he was doing, but he got a little bit, down below, a bit of frostbite there. And did you not see that at all in the news, Lee?
I kind of feel like Lee's facial expression is like mine. Like, how does that happen?
His penis in the snow?
Well, they only wear those tights, don't they, when they're out skiing and stuff. I mean, I can understand how it happens, but did he stop in the woods for a wee or something and got a bit of frostbite? I don't know, but
I need to find this story ASAP and read about it.
Check it out. Well,
You may need some of Rodney's penis candles or something.
we was going to end up this conversation with a few topics that we brought up, but I mean we're already at an hour's time, so I think that we can possibly leave that for next week,
Okay.
Harmony. But I mean,
fine.
unless you want to bring your topic up a minute quickly, I mean I'm all right for the time being. We can carry on for a little bit longer if you want.
No, I think it's great. I mean, you guys are all good to go. I noticed some things popping up amongst people that I'm coaching. I noticed some patterns in the way some of the people will message me and they're super gung ho and they'll, want to be a part of something, accountability, and then they will go MIA because they have failed on their end. And so I realized self-sabotage is a very big virus for a lot of people. No matter how much money you have, no matter where in the world you were born, we all have it, that asshole in our head. And so I wondered if you guys could if we could all maybe list one or two little traits that we have where we notice that we are trying to self-sabotage.
I get it all the time. And Lee brought this up just a moment ago, didn't you, about self-sabotage, Lee? So I don't know if you want to start this one off at all.
It's a difficult one for me right now, especially where I am right now. I did experience a little bit of self-sabotage a couple of weeks ago when I first started the whole MyFitnessPal stuff and getting up at 5 o'clock. For the first couple of days, the alarm goes off and I was like, oh, give it half an hour. Then after like 3 or 4 days, because I'd done it and my body was like, oh yeah, this is really good. Let's keep doing this. So, I mean, it's such a narrow point of view I can give you right now, but I'm not experiencing any self-sabotage right now, but I have done so much in the past, getting fired up listening to a podcast all the way home. And I'm like, yeah, when I get home, I'm going to go for a run. You get in and it's like, oh, I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. But
what do you think that is? That's what I wondered. What do you think that is? I'm asking as a question because I've never really laziness.
No, I think it's confidence. I think it's confidence sometimes. I mean, you've said it in the past, Lee, before with your coaching and that. And when you talk about putting a price on your head, how much am I worth? And you say straight away, right, I'm worth £200 a session, and then you say to yourself, well, what experience have I got to be able to say to somebody I'm worth £200? And I just think once you do things often enough and that you are freaking fantastic and you've told yourself and you've got that experience behind you and you've got the confidence, then you will easily ask £200, not a problem at all. But I think starting out, it's that thing that goes on in your head. Am I worth this? How can I ask that much money? Am I qualified enough? You feel like that's something that I experience. And I mean, I was talking, I was going to bring up a topic about the struggles that I've had this week to remain focused. I mean, I've done really, really well with my weight. I'm feeling fantastic about myself. And then I get down to about a stone and a half in weight. And then I just say to myself, oh, why am I doing this? There's that little person in my head that's saying, oh, you don't deserve to be doing this. You don't deserve to be losing weight. You don't deserve to be making £200. You don't deserve to have 200 episodes as a podcaster. And then you start asking questions, and then you can go one of two ways. And I'm at that crossroads at the moment where I've put £3 on this week, and I started asking myself questions. Oh, I can't be asked. I'm just going to go and have a chocolate bar, but I haven't. I've stopped and I've given myself grace, and I've said, look, okay, this week's been a bit of a shit week, back on it now. And that's something I just think that you've got to work out for yourself. Why am I doing this? And I'm not going to sabotage myself anymore. I'm better than this. I'm freaking amazing. And you've just got to start giving yourself some grace. And when you're doing shit, kick yourself in the bollocks and say, no, I'm not going back to my old ways. I'm sticking with what I'm good at. And, and just being nice to yourself. Appreciate what you've done. I don't know whose hand was up there first. Lee, Harmony, you fight it out. Go on, Lee.
No, Lee's first.
I'll tell you a very quick story. So on last Friday, I was communicating with a friend of mine who was having issues with a family member that I've had experience in, so I would consider myself an expert in that. And I communicated with her after a conversation she and my wife had. And I said, look, Kerry's mentioned that you're having some trouble with your parents, amongst some other things, blah, blah, blah. And she said that I'm coaching, and just, are you interested? And she was like, oh, I don't go for all that American bullshit. And it was a very defensive posture straight away. And I was like, and I could have thought to myself, oh, well, fuck you then, But I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I approached the situation from a different angle, and I said, yeah, I agree with you, actually. I said, coaching's got a bad name. I said, it's got a really low bar to entry, but it's got a really high bar for successful coaches, like people that are really, really good. So I agree with you. I said, but, it's on the table, blah, blah. Anyway, back and forth. And it got to the point where I'd not convinced her, but I had opened her eyes to the potential of a coaching experience and what it can bring. And we got to the point where she was like, okay, yeah, I'll sign me up. Great. So I got to the point where I sent her the invite, and she came back with, oh, we're very busy, I'm not going to have time. And I don't know if confidence is the right word, but I will agree with you. And straight away, I was like doing a real quick analysis in my brain. I was like, fine, it's there if you want it. But my brain said, I did some sort of psychological analysis, and I was like, you are afraid to expose yourself to yourself. Is that confidence? Is it you're not willing to face, the demons that you have? And I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, and you do not want to look in the mirror. Is that what's going on here? So I don't know if it's confidence. It's something like that, but I can't really retrieve the word right now. Maybe Harmony will be able to.
I just wanted to say he nailed it. It's fear. Everything that we keep ourselves from doing is fear-based. It doesn't, and again, I talked about in this group how we as a human race, we complicate the fuck out of things, and it really does not have to be that difficult. And once we realize that it's just one, not even a big puzzle, like it's just 100-piece puzzle. Like if you just put the pieces together and pay close attention. I think what helped me a lot was journaling. I started noticing patterns in my journaling. And you guys, as long as I've been doing this, if I'm not careful, I will notice things that I've been mindful of before where I'm trying to self-sabotage. Because me creating a children's book or doing the Bliss Broker podcast or coaching somebody or whatever it is that I'm doing requires me to step up to a different level. And you can't step up to another level in your life, regardless of what it is, without hard work. And hard work requires a lot of diligence and confidence, as you were mentioning, Lee. And most people wouldn't know the first thing about that. Sorry, I hit the table. They wouldn't know the first thing about that. And I'm not saying that as a judgment, because I didn't for a very long time. I think until you get yourself off of that hamster wheel, and tell yourself what Lee said, I am worth this. Because if you don't think you're worth having better, being better, looking better, loving better, working better, exercising better, if you don't, even on a deep, deep, deep subconscious level, if you don't think you're worthy of that, you will never show up for it. I don't care what app you download. I don't care what kind of coach you hire. If you believe somewhere in your bones that you are not worthy of better than what you have currently, you're never going to get it. And so once I put two and two together, I was like, it really just comes down to our belief system about ourselves and what we're worthy of, and fear. It's those two things.
Did you want to touch on that at all, Howard?
I agree with Harmony. A personal example is, I'll give a podcast example and then a supplement example. Now, I wanted to be doing interviews, and then the first interview I had, which was with my friend Stefan, I was nervous. And then I interviewed Hussein and my other friends. I'm nervous all the time. And there's like that little voice, I call it the devil voice, like the little angel and the devil that's sitting on your shoulder. Say like, oh, hopefully they won't get back to me confirming that they want to do the interview and everything. It's like, oh, and if they do it, then I have an out, like what Lee was talking about. It's like, okay, I have a reason to avoid facing what I'm afraid of doing. And so the supplement example is the manufacturers. I'm like, oh, well, I'm a small company. I make no money. These guys are dealing with multi-million-dollar companies probably. They won't give me the time of day. They're going to make fun of me or, something like that. Like I'm going to be disappointed. And, but when I think about it, I should say, okay, Howard, think about it logically. What's the worst thing that will happen?
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm in an interview, okay, like there's been times where I have interviews where I kind of like, I lose my train of thought and I'm like, okay, what do I want to ask? Okay, it's not the end of the world. If I call a manufacturer and they've told me they're like, no, hey, just want to let you know, you're not the type of company where we do business with, like we look at bigger companies, but here's advice. And it's like, I gained something from it. You're not going to die from it. It's not like, I guess give a current example, like going to war or anything like that, where you may not have a chance to come home. So yeah, I agree with Harmony that it's the fear. And it's basically just I also think about like, okay, how am I going to feel? And this is what you guys brought up. Like you feel like you won that victory when you push yourself to go to that gym, or say pull yourself, whatever, to go to the gym and work out. Is I think, okay, Howard, if you don't do this, how are you going to feel in another year when you haven't made any progress? And then now it's like, crap, I've lost another year and I haven't made, any gains on it. And that's another year that won't come back because the time won't come back. That's the most valuable commodity is time. Once it's gone, it doesn't come back. So that's my thoughts.
Well done. Lee?
Brilliant. No, I think this last 10 minutes is absolute fucking gold. And I think every one of us has nailed it. There's nothing else I can add.
I'd just like to round up by saying as well, respect and patience. Give yourself some respect and give yourself some patience, because there's so much I see now in this day and age where people expect to have the body of a god overnight, have the best podcast in the world, have the biggest enterprise in the world overnight. And, like Harmony said just a minute ago, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of fuck ups for you to improve yourself. And, the other day I was doing so well losing weight. And then I go away on holiday, I come back and I put on 3 pounds. I was feeling a bit groggy about myself. And I thought, I'm still the lightest I've been in a winter for a long time. Fucking hell, I've put on 3 pounds. Who really cares? I'm still doing an amazing job and I will still have the body of a god by the summer. That's what I keep saying to myself, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do little fuck ups every now and again, but it's just having some respect for yourself and the other people around you, right? And having patience. Rome wasn't built in a day. Carry on. If you make a mess up, start the next day. Carry on. It's when you give in. Nobody likes people that give in.
Well, I just wanted to add one quick thing to that, because that was pure magic, is to remind everybody listening, including myself and you guys, there's going to be an ebb and a flow to growth. Having that being perfect and showing up every day for your workouts and eating the food every day, taking your vitamins every day, there's an ebb and flow to that. That's not sustainable every day for the rest of your life. Even the top person that would be considered, I don't know, give me an example. Who's on top of their A game? Anthony Robbins. I'm sure he has days where he's like, you know what? Let's invite The Rock over, do a shot of tequila and be done with it. You know what I mean? I'm sure he does. So
Tyson Fury, champion of the world, put on all of that weight, lost it all, and now he's top of the world again. Prime example.
Exactly.
He hated himself for a long time. He drank, he done drugs, he was out, with women. He hated himself. He just wanted to die. He had a blip in his life, and now he's the champion of the world. And look at the confidence. He cannot do anything wrong. He loves himself. He loves everything around him. So, Howard, talking to people that love themselves and everything around them.
I guess two things is one, what you're talking about with just Mr. Fury. I don't know who he is, but
hey,
it's
he's insulting our English people again, Lee.
He's a hater.
I'm not a hater. I don't hate. I'm a lover, not a hater.
Go on. Sorry, mate. Carry on.
It's what is it? Don't make try to make permanent decisions off of like temporary, emotions is kind of what comes to mind. But what you were talking about, you were mentioning before that, Mark, what I thought of is that no matter if you go for what you want in life or you don't, people are going to judge you either way. So you might as well just go for it. That's something that took me, 44 years, whatever, to figure out. If you don't go for it, people are going to say, oh, he had so much potential or something, he just ruined his life. And if you go for it, there's going to be haters out there. So just people out there, just go for it.
Well done. Great episode, guys. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me too.
Harmony, tell the world where they can find us, because next week I don't know what we're going to talk about. I was thinking possibly talking about patience. We could possibly think that we could bring up next week, perhaps, how important it is to have patience. But what I just wanted to say, guys, is that if you feel that there's something that you would like us to talk about, if there's a debate, a topic, anything that you'd like us to talk about, fire us an email and we will mention you on next week's episode, and we'll also talk about it. So Harmony, tell the world where they can find us.
You guys can find us on 5 Deep, Instagram, everywhere. Google it. It's going to come up. It's all 5 Deep. What are we? Official 5 Deep at Gmail as well, right? So
Official 5 Deep, yeah.
Official 5 Deep. And I've been putting the content out, and there's ways you guys can go on there and learn about us as individuals. Just scroll down on our Instagram page, and there are also links to each individual person's Instagram as well, so you can learn a little bit more about them and myself.
Yeah.
If it's not official, they're fake, and they ain't the real 5 Deep, because we're the official 5 Deep. Well, 4 Deep right now. Rodney's here in spirit.
Absolutely.
Fantastic episode, guys. Really, really enjoyed this one. Looking forward to next week's episode. So nothing much more to say, but stay safe, stay classy, and we'll catch you the same time, same place next week.
See you later, everybody.
See ya.
Beatles are too much all hype.
God.